Groove City.
Hey, what's up? I'm Lefty.
What's up? I'm Ari, and welcome to Groove City.
That's right. We are very excited to bring in another special guest, a New York native, born and raised right here in New York City. You might have seen him on the main stage at Elements Festival, Avant-Gardner, dropping UKG and drum and bass beats. Today, we are excited to welcome Johnny Mahon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming
joining
out.
us. Not to be confused with Johnny Mahon.
Different
not
person.
this
Yeah,
man.
who's that guy?
Yeah. But thanks for joining us. How you been? What's going on over in your world?
I've been good. I was just telling Ari that this year it's been a pretty great year so far. I've released more music than I have personally in a year. 7 tracks so far. I might throw a couple freebies in December too. And I played some of the biggest shows this year also. For the viewers, for context, right now it's November, so the year's almost over. I don't know when this is actually going to air.
Yeah, it'll be like early next year.
Yeah.
Because we like to ask, which DAW are you producing in?
Ableton.
Ableton.
I started in it back in 2017, on and off for a while, because back when you first started, nothing sounds good, so you're kind of discouraged.
Sure.
But I technically started producing in 2016 using Logic, but then I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos and they were all in Ableton. I was like, I don't know how any of this translates yet, so I was just switched over to Ableton.
Fair enough. Is that also when you started your project, or were you just trying to get into production, and then, or were you like, I want to start a dance project and DJ, and I want to learn production, and I'm going to learn Ableton now?
It was just a focus on getting, understanding the ropes of Ableton. I wasn't getting serious about starting a project, having a brand.
You just wanted to learn how to make music.
Yeah, because I knew I needed that to be sound. I needed that to be good to go before I was gonna start chasing anything else, because that's the foundation to a music project.
So you went in with the intent to eventually take it more seriously.
Yeah, I wanted to eventually get to a point where I could release on labels and make stuff that people actually want to listen to.
Nice. Were you already DJing at that point?
Yeah, I started DJing probably in 2012 or something like that. Just first, in my bedroom kind of thing, parents' basement technically.
I was going to say 2012, I was DJing all around the city back then. When you were just starting out, what kind of places were you playing at?
So the first real gigs where I actually was paid for it were frat parties at Penn State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sweet. Nice.
yeah.
It's a classic first gig right there.
Yeah. So I was playing those back in 2014, 2015. And then I didn't play a legit venue until 2021 at Bogart House. And then from there on, it's been just a bunch of gigs since then.
So what initially made you get into dance music, and what was your inspiration to kind of start DJing to begin with? Because obviously production came a little later on for you.
Right.
What gave you the itch to start DJing frat parties at Penn State?
So what first got me into dance music, I actually looked earlier to check. I went because I still have my whole iTunes library where it's all dated and everything, so I could see when I added different tracks. And I first added some Bass Hunter tracks in 2008.
Oh, word.
And that
Love
was my
Bass Hunter.
yeah, that was
a
my
big fan.
Yeah, that was my intro to 4 on the floor kick drum type music. Anything that before that I'd learned music from Guitar Hero. That was what I was listening to. I wasn't that into it.
Nice little Dragon Force.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I could never get that one on Expert. That was the one that I could not get on Expert.
It's hard.
But yeah, so it evolved from that Bass Hunter, Eurodance stuff, and then it evolved into more commercial stuff. My first show I went to was Avicii at Penn State, and from there on, I became borderline obsessed with just listening to new music, and then it was just a natural transition to start trying to DJ.
Nice. How did you discover Bass Hunter?
Shout out to my friend Danny. He sent it to me. It was just one of my friends.
Check this out. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, basically.
Changed the game. Super Euro 4 on the floor. Early
2008. That was peak
stuff.
blog house era.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember riding in my mom's CRV, just blasting it, going to school in the morning. But
nice.
yeah,
And it seems like you've switched lanes quite a bit. You're not making that type of music now, right?
No, I would. Yeah, I mean Eurodance or whatever you want to call it. I was never making that.
Okay.
But I used to make back when I started out producing. I was going for house music, maybe a bass house / tech house side. Also a little bit of trap because I liked that back then. But I moved over to UKG drum and bass probably 3 years ago or so, just because as my personal taste gravitated toward it. So
ahead of the curve. I feel like now people are starting to switch into that lane a little bit.
Maybe, yeah. It does seem like it's growing for sure.
100%.
But yeah, I've gravitated. My taste has gravitated there, so I've started producing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So presuming you went to school in Pennsylvania and you started DJing in your college years at some local parties, you came back to New York after and you were like, I want to keep doing this. How did you kind of work your way into the scene and start getting bookings and DJing out in the city?
Yeah, so I moved to the city in December 2019 because I was living in Connecticut.
Okay. I thought I saw somewhere you were born and raised here.
I was.
Oh, you were?
I was born and raised on Long Island. Then I went to Penn State and I got my first job in Connecticut. And I was living out there from
Which part of Connecticut?
Pawcatuck, Connecticut. It's like right next to Rhode Island. It's like way out there.
All the way on the other end.
Yeah, it's like way out there.
Crazy. Basically Rhode Island at that point.
Yeah, I was living like 50 feet away from the border from Rhode Island, basically.
Damn. And then it's only like another 100 feet till you hit the water over Rhode Island.
Yeah.
They're very close. Rhode Island's a very small state.
It is.
Yeah, I moved here in 2020 and then COVID happened. And then after it ended, I just was going out to parties and stuff. My first like entryway into playing a real gig was meeting some guys at Project 91.
Nice.
I just met them at like an after party.
Duncan?
Yeah, Duncan and Todd. Yeah. And so I met them and then basically...
Crazy how huge those guys have gotten.
Yeah.
I did some gigs for them when they were kind of early on also, and they're super nice guys. I used to see them picking up Costco runs of booze for their parties in like Williamsburg. They're like loading up the car with Red Bulls and beers and stuff like that. And I was like, where are you guys going? Like, we got a party tonight. Now they're doing like stadiums.
Yeah.
They've definitely upgraded from Costco runs.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. I'm glad to see that. That's cool. They're good guys to get in. So how did you link up with them? You just met them randomly? You're like, I DJ and put me on some shows.
Yeah, I just met Todd randomly at an after party. And yeah, we just hit him up because I went back to back with my friend Daniel a couple times, Stello. And we just told him like, yeah, we DJ. And he was like super chill about it. He was just like, yeah, I'll put you on a couple shows. And we opened up for West End one time. And then we opened up for Chami another time, which is very surreal for me at that point. That was like a huge jump for me.
Was that Chami at the church?
No, it was 2021 at a venue called HK Hall. It's like on west side of Manhattan. I've only been there twice and I haven't been there in like 3 years. I don't even know if they still have events there, but it was solid and it was a very memorable night for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and now you're just kind of cruising along and smashing it. You got a bunch of releases out. Any cool labels you want to drop that you've released with?
Let's see. This year I released with South Point Records, which is a big UKG label. I was very pumped about that. I regularly listen to their music just in general anyway. So it's cool to be part of that crew. I released on The Rust, which is based in New York. They kind of do like experimental bass music. I released a drum and bass EP with them. And Liz Play Records was another one I released it like a jazzy drum and bass tune on. Nice. That's a good label for like liquid stuff.
The drum culture to jazz, drum and bass is a really cool thing we get to see around here a lot at Sound Collective, because there's a lot of drummers that come here that are like, they always get into drum and bass when they're jamming jazz. I'm like, that's such a funny thing to me there's
a crossover in there.
Middle ground there. So, I mean, you said you weren't into Eurodance, but you're very much into like UK style production. UKG and drum and bass are both more focused on you know, that side of the world.
Yeah.
What kind of got you into that and focused on that in your production skills?
I think I naturally gravitated towards it because those genres are very drum focused. They have a lot of syncopation. They have a lot of breaks. And my whole life, I've always noticed whenever I listen to a song, I'm always most focused on the drums and like different fills and all the syncopation that's going on. And those genres just crank it up to an extra level from what I find. And I also enjoy faster music, and they tend to be faster. UKG's like 140 BPM, drum and bass 174. So, yeah, just naturally gravitated towards it. I've always liked music with a lot of syncopation. Like Chami used to be one of my favorites. I used to love Disclosure. The album Settle was huge for me.
Unbelievable, yeah.
That was like my intro to that kind of music. Before that, I was listening to just like big room stuff like Alesso or Avicii.
I feel like that was the last dance album to really like break the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like change the sound of things for a little bit. It shifted the culture for a little bit.
Think of the Jack U album also. The like Diplo Skrillex.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the album or the single so much.
Yeah.
I feel like Disclosure
the
had
one,
like a
the
really
Justin
huge
Bieber
album.
track on that was definitely game changing.
Yeah. That's cool. So amazing stuff, man. You've accomplished quite a bit already.
Thank
and
you.
how many years, I guess, would you say you've been actually focusing on your project, like with like seriousness behind it?
Let's see. It's November 2024. 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, something like that. I would say like I got really serious about it when I first started playing those shows in like mid 2021 with Project 91, because I kind of realized like, wait, this is doable. Like this, like I could do this.
Nice.
And then,
Yeah, I heard you recently played with Rudimental. Is that right?
Yeah, that was like a week or two ago. That was sick. Yeah, it closed out after them at Brooklyn Monarch. That was a lot of fun.
Amazing.
That's a dope show.
Yeah, it's a good venue too. I really like playing there.
Are there any? Go ahead. All right.
I'm curious also your take on UKG scene in New York, because from what I've seen, it's still very house dominated, and there's definitely inklings of a UKG scene that's sort of up and coming. Some shows, some parties that are being thrown. I'm curious as an artist if you're seeing reception, like good reception of that sort of music, if people want other stuff, if you're having trouble getting booked because you're not doing house, like what that sort of experience has been like.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing demand for it. So probably the face of the new movement of UKG would be Sammy Vergi, and he just sold out 2 shows at Avant Gardner Great Hall.
Yeah,
so
he's killing it right now.
That tells you that there's definitely a demand for it. So on a pretty regular basis, there's shows, but it's not quite like house music where it's like multiple every weekend. They're like a little more sporadic, but they're there for sure.
I will say I get like a ton of DJ promos, and I'm getting substantially more and more UKG and drum and bass in my stream of like incoming promos, like tons. I just went through like 150 promos yesterday, and there's probably like 50% of them were in that world, which I thought was pretty interesting. So you're definitely seeing it pick up around the world, which means it'll definitely make its way over here and definitely, become a more popular genre. But I think it's already growing pretty strong in New York.
Yeah, definitely is. I know we had Gina Girio out here a little while ago for something.
Gigi Rio.
Shout out Gigi Rio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Gina. Yeah, she's doing a good part in leading that movement with Unravel, which she's doing.
Sure.
And she's getting a lot of bookings too, which is great.
Nice.
From what I've seen on the drum and bass side, it seems like there's more demand than the UKG side personally. Maybe it's just from my experience because I've been more successful with getting drum and bass bookings so far. Maybe but I mean, like,
I'm seeing a lot of bass house and drum and bass crossover happen more so.
Yeah, there certainly is a crossover between those two. It's probably a reason why I like both of them. I came from bass house, now I like drum and bass.
Sense.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I guess I wanted to ask you, are there any like dream collabs that you have in mind that you're like, oh man, I would love a record with this producer?
On the UKG side, it would be MPH. On the drum and bass side, Monty, who's with the 1985 crew. I love his music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Monty, if you're out there, hit him up.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I've talked to him a few times. I do know him, but he's a super busy man with everything he's doing.
Yeah, everybody is in New York. Get out of here. Yeah, I'm just kidding around. Sweet. Anything in the future coming up that you're excited about that you want to mention? Because this will probably be out into the world in like a few months from now. So if you got any plans for way down the line that you want to mention that you're excited about, or just anything in general that you're pumped about, now's a good time.
Yeah, so I got a 2-track EP that's coming out, I think in February, maybe a little bit later.
Nice.
I got a bootleg coming out in January, so it'll probably be already out when this video comes out. I'm playing at Silo. I've never played there before. I'm playing there in February as support for Muzz, a drum and bass artist.
Oh, sweet.
I got another drum and bass gig coming up in April. It's either at Brooklyn Monarch or the Meadows or the Woodshop, one of those 3 right there, but I haven't been told which one yet. But it's going to be one of those. It'll be a drum and bass night. It'll
They're
be
all
fun.
like next door to one another, right?
They're all connected, yeah.
Yeah, the Woodshop used to be the green room for the Meadows, where they just repurposed it.
Sure.
I just played in there not too long ago.
Oh, did you really? Yeah, I'm playing there on New Year's. How was it?
It was cool.
It was good. Yeah, nice.
It's a fun party.
So, yeah, and I also obviously have a bunch of unreleased music that I plan to send out to labels to hopefully release more in next year.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, sure. So probably the best place to contact me would be Instagram. That's where I'm most active. It's Johnny the Man, Mahon. That's how it's spelled on Instagram. but I mean, I'm on most things. Like I am on TikTok. I don't even know if it has a DM feature on TikTok. Like I don't even.
It
does.
Yeah, you could DM on TikTok.
Or you can buy anything on TikTok. You
Yeah.
can definitely DM.
Yeah. Don't DM me on TikTok though, because I don't even know where it is, so I might not see it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, you can find me on socials, Johnny the Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we want to give a huge thank you to our guest for joining us today. Also, thank you to Ari for joining us and sitting in for Rich, who couldn't be here today.
And thank you to Lefty as well for holding it down.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Make sure you check out his DJ set. It's going to be in the link below. We want to give a big shout out and thank you to Sound Collective for hosting us and letting us have this podcast in here. Make sure you go to soundcollective.com to check out the online classes, membership options, and a whole bunch of other great things happening in the building. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for us today.
I'm Ari.
And I'm Lefty. Thank you for joining us. Peace.